Hello everyone, welcome back to the Play On Podcast Hurling Edition. Now we're going to have a look at both the Kilkenny versus Laois and Westmeath versus Tipperary games. So no surprise in the results here. Kilkenny 129, Laois 22 points, Westmeath losing by 16 points to 427 to Tipperary. We're going to start with the Kilkenny versus Laois game. 100% record remains for Kilkenny and Brian Cody. They looked comfortable again. Bit of a good fight from Laois in the second half, but Kilkenny simply too strong for them in this one.
Yep, absolutely. And Kilkenny kind of booking their place in a league final. If this ever happens, we don't know at the moment with COVID and everything, and the calendar is kind of all over the place, but they will be topping the group in Division 1B anyway. So yeah, I think they'll be absolutely delighted with kind of how it's gone. Like every game they've played, really, they've looked very, very comfortable in them. And they've, another kind of win. And this week they got to rest TJ, they got to rest Pádraig Walsh. So I think no complaints from Cody this week.
Yeah, no, he'd definitely have no complaints. And whenever they win without TJ Reid, it shows that they can adapt. And their young forwards look very good again this time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are so many options kind of coming through here now. Like looking kind of at that full forward line, James Bergen kind of after last week was kind of taken off early against Wexford. But anyway, back in the team, scored 5 points from play. Owen Cody, 11 points. I know a lot of frees. And then Blanchfield as well, full forward was constant threat, 1-2. And like all these factors coming in. And then you're not even mentioning Adrian Mullen, 2 points. Billy Ryan hit a point. Like he was exceptional last week. So there's so many options up front for Kilkenny now. And that kind of forward line to build around TJ, there's like a whole lot of options there now. So kind of interesting to see how they're going to approach it this year and what kind of 6-4s they will be picking, like considering that Colin Fennelly will be absent for the year.
Yeah, they'll definitely back their chances more to get into the team now that, of course, you've mentioned that Fennelly isn't involved this year. Do you think that they'll take any confidence from the fact that they're going into the year as Leinster champions?
Yep, absolutely. I think I think that game against Galway last year will be that final kind of. They seem to be kind of beating all ends up in that game, and then there was kind of the 2 quick goals, and it was nearly a smash and grab in that way. But I think Kilkenny they'll take a lot from that game, that they know that they just kind of seem to have an edge in Galway at the moment, and that they have a psychological thing on them, and that game was kind of really funny. But I think they'll take an awful lot from that, and you're looking kind of forward line this year. I think you'll have Adrian Mullen and Donnelly beside TJ, and then you can have a full forward line. Like you've Owen Cody in there, you've James Bergen in there, you've so many options really. So it'll be really, and we haven't even talked about Walter Walsh yet. So I think, and you've Martin Keown as well as another name too. So I think it'll be exciting to see kind of what way Cody kind of goes about it, and I think I would probably put them as my third favourites behind Galway and Limerick for the All-Ireland this year.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I think Kilkenny look very, very well drilled. And of course, when Brian Cody's ever there, he can never fully write Kilkenny off. But I don't think we can take too much from this game. I know we've talked about the forwards looking good again, but they are playing against Laois, with all due respect to Laois. Laois have been beaten in every game that they've played in the league so far. And now, of course, they're facing relegation. How do you see their chances now?
Yeah, I think it's been a tough campaign for them. Like we've already talked about, they'll probably take a bit of comfort with they kind of had a fair old go in the second half, and that they for long parts of it they did manage to stay within the game. They'll be happy with a few of the performances. Ross King with 3 points from play. Paddy Purcell was good again with 2 points. Jack Kelly 2 points from wing back. So they will be happy enough. But I think it's just a level kind of too high for them right now, kind of, and it's probably not the same quality of team that went on that championship run when they beat Dublin that year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think when you're a team like Laois coming up, I would say very similar to almost how Dublin are right now. That Laois, when they were full strength in the championship last year, even under Eddie Brennan, we saw what a game they gave Dublin. We saw what a game they gave Clare in the qualifiers. They had a very, very good team. The likes of Paddy Purcell and Enda Rowland and goal are as good as you'll find in the country. They need to be full strength, though. I'd almost look at it very similar to how at Wexford, say, if you were to take out Lee Chin, Conor MacDonald, their key players, which Laois have lost key players, then the standard of their team goes down drastically. And for Laois, it's the same. When Laois aren't at 100%, in my opinion, they're not able to play at this level. But when they are 100%, they are able to play at this level. So it's up to Cheddar Plunkett, in my opinion. He's a great manager. But I think if Laois want to keep playing at this level, Cheddar has to get everything out of the players that Laois have available to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I think it'll be a tough all year kind of ahead of them, and they could probably do with a move back to a more traditional calendar where there's more fixtures. Maybe say like if they go back to a round robin kind of system when a COVID free time kind of, I think that would be more beneficial to Laois and will help them build with more kind of competitive games. And yeah, I think that's what they need. These kind of one-off kind of championship games with maybe a qualifier as well thrown in isn't going to really stand them much.
Yeah, I would agree with that. How do you rate their chances against Wexford though? Because we were talking about a vulnerable Wexford, a Wexford that, you can rattle them a bit, and haven't seen how Antrim took them to the wire. How much of a chance do you give Laois?
I would say that I think that Antrim are a long way ahead of Laois right now, and I think I can't see Laois getting anywhere near Wexford, to be honest. I think he'll probably go to a similar kind of pattern to the earlier league game where Wexford were very, very comfortable. But yeah, I think Laois they need to look to be competitive in these games and stuff, and they need to just keep building, maybe develop get a few more young fellas through kind of. There is a bit of talent there coming through, especially like McAvoy and centre half back there at the weekend. But yeah, I probably can't see any scenario in which they give Wexford much of a real scare.
Yeah, I think I would definitely tip Wexford to win that game. Moving on from that game, Westmeath 16 points, Tipperary 4 goals and 27 points. Another big loss for Westmeath, in my opinion. It's a bit unfair on them that they're playing at this level. For Tipperary, only good signs. The return of Seamus Callanan into the team. Brendan Maher looked superb. He won man of the match. And they brought through some of their youngsters.
Yep, definitely. I think probably not a whole lot to be said from this game. Really, it was seems to have taken kind of the pattern of a lot of other games that Westmeath have played, where yeah, the results kind of never really in doubt. Really, it was a pretty strong team named by Tip. Not a whole lot of changes, kind of, which I think Westmeath would be a bit disappointed about. I suppose maybe the interesting parts coming to some of the young fellas kind of coming through into the Tip team, like you were saying, like again more game time for Paddy Cadell and Brian McGrath, and then yeah. So I think it's a question, I suppose, is like whether these fellas will be starting come later in the championship. Perhaps there's a vacancy in one of the cornerback spots for Brian McGrath. There seems to be a spot in midfield up for grabs now that Noel McGrath's back up in the forwards. And I think we will see Paddy Cadell and Brian McGrath, fair chance of them starting when we come to the championship in about a month's time.
Yeah, and along with Seamus Callanan for Tipperary, the two men that look like they're going to be huge in the forwards this year for Tipperary is, you've mentioned how Noel McGrath has gone back into the forwards, and Jason Ford was absolutely superb on the weekend. This guy is an unbelievable hurler. But we've already touched on that, how good he is. Um, I think Noel McGrath seems to be orchestrating the play from centre half forward, just like he did when he played there at the start of the 2010s under Liam Sheedy and Declan Ryan and so on. He's a superb hurler. Him back at centre half forward definitely is intriguing. And you wonder now, is is him and Jason Ford going to be a bit of a double act this summer for Tipperary?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're going to see that forward line. I think it'll be Dan McCormick, Noel McGrath, with Jason Ford out there, and then you can throw in a full forward line of John McGrath, Callan, and Bubbles. So I think like there's some amount of firepower up there, kind of, and they could score as much as they wanted to on a given day, really. So yeah, it's really intriguing looking at Tip. I think you might see Michael Breen, Paddy Cadell, that midfield line, and then in the half backs as well. You've got them all the Mars. I think Paddy will be fullback this year, but you're looking at Brendan Maher, Ronan Maher, you've Barry Heffernan, you've James Kennedy all going for spots there. So there's some serious competition for spots in that team now. So I think they're in a not bad place as well. I know I was saying Kilkenny probably my third favourites, but Tip are probably very close to Kilkenny for that spot.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Tipperary are very well stocked, and they seem to be flying under the radar a bit. They haven't really put a foot wrong, to be honest, so far in the league. They haven't looked awful in any game that they've played. And Liam Sheedy's a very shrewd operator. He's won All Irelands in both of his reigns as manager. And of course, they're the last team other than Limerick to win the All Ireland. And these guys are coming through now. The aforementioned Cadell and McGrath. These guys are coming through from very successful juvenile teams, and they're used to winning. And they're going to expect to win at senior. And eventually, I think they will win one with these crop of players. I think they're too talented to not win an All Ireland at senior level. I'm just fascinated to see, will it be this year?
Yep, absolutely. And like, we're not even talking about the likes of Jake Morris as well, who's been thereabouts for a while now. Mark Keogh coming off the bench, scored 1-2 at the weekend. Robert Byrne as well is coming through. I know he was sent off, but he looks very promising too. So there's, and Craig Morgan as well, the captain of those underage teams that have been so successful. Finally kind of got on as a sub. He's been tipped to kind of come through for a long time. So yeah, there is plenty of young talent there as well and tip going forward. So they, like, in the next few years, do look promising as well for them, because there is so much talent in those teams that haven't been kind of used too heavily just yet.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Okay, so that, guys, is our reviews of the Kilkenny versus Laois and Tipperary versus Westmeath games. And that concludes our review of all the hurling matches that happened over the last weekend. We will come back with our preview of next weekend's Allianz hurling fixtures.